lovelies, so I'm back for more of our alphabet of essential oils, and initially I wanted to do these little videos that will give you a snippet of information, but to be honest there is so much great knowledge out there on our essential oils that I just decided that these videos will go on as long as they go on, and you can decide to watch some of it or you can decide to watch all of it. But I know the feedback that I've had off people is that they love learning about essential oils. So we're going to be touching on the therapeutic uses of the oils and some of the great information, and then also the emotional element of the oils as well. As a yoga teacher, I've been teaching yoga over 11 years now, and I integrated essential oils into my practice and then my practice with my students about 5-6 years ago, and the difference on an emotional level was just huge. It was kind of life-changing for me, and it's been life-changing for a lot of people in my community because it gives us a tool to work through the challenges and things that we're dealing with. I use them a lot in my home, especially with my daughter who has an autoimmune challenge, and that actually affects her emotions. So we've been able to use the essential oils to bring her more calm, balance, and stability. So today B is for basil. I always have a hard time saying basil because I'm a Brit and we say basil. But for the purpose of today, I will work with basil for my beautiful Canadian and US friends here. So basil is actually a top note. So in aromatherapy, when we're creating blends, we have base notes, we have mid notes, and we have top notes. So that when we blend things together, we kind of have a mixture of all, because those base notes are very anchoring. The mid notes kind of bind the whole blend together, because top notes are usually what we smell first when we make a blend. That's why I always say, if you're making something up for yourself and you're doing it you want to create a blend for smell rather than its therapeutic use, give it a couple of days, because those base notes will take a while for the smell to kind of come through. And often what you smell is the top note first. And they're called top notes because they evaporate really quickly in comparison to some of those base notes. So basil is a top note. It is kind of a clear to pale yellow color. They use the leaves and the flowering tops, and they steam distill that to get the essential oil. And basil, just like fennel, because it has a particular chemical compound in there, it's actually phenylmethyl ether or ether. And because it's got that in there, it gives it that licorice smell. So often people will get the two oils confused because of the power of the licorice smell that's in there. So let's go on to talk about the therapeutic uses of this oil and some of its properties. So it's analgesic, it's antispasmodic, it's bactericidal. It's a good digestive aid. So if you think about it, a lot of these herby oils we use in cooking, and we use them in cooking, and because of that, they really do help the digestive system. It can be a reproductive stimulant. It's good for killing threadworms. It's an antidepressant, anti-venomous. So when we're talking about wasp stings and things like that, it's a carminative. So when we have sluggish digestion or toots, flatulence, it can really help with that. It can also help with that time of month, especially if you've got heavy periods. It can really help with that. It's antiviral. It's also a nervous system tonic, so it works well with anxiety and nervousness. It can be good for travel sickness. So if you think of some of those oils like ginger and fennel, and now we're talking about basil, them being these foods that are very settling for the stomach. So if you're feeling travel sick, that one can be a help too. It's antiseptic. And it's a stimulant. So there's quite a few wonderful things about it there. Some of the top uses you might use it for: adrenal fatigue. So if you're using it for that, like you can do it by smelling, putting it on the bottoms of the feet, the back of the neck, the forehead, or over the adrenal area. It can be good for earache. There's a number of oils that can work for earache, but basil really is kind of one of the best for that. If you have a loss of smell, this one can help you regain or increase your sense of smell. Migraines and dizziness. This, you could actually mix it with wintergreen and peppermint and put it on the back of the neck and the temples. When it comes to kind of head tension, headaches, it really depends on what perhaps is causing them. So we'll talk more about that. I'll do a video specifically on that, but basil can be used here. And also mental fatigue and fogginess. So this is a great study oil. When I was studying for my nutrition courses, and in fact years ago doing my aromatherapy course, I would use basil to help me when I was studying. So I know we've talked before about peppermint being good for that. Basil is very good for this, but you just have to be careful that you don't kind of overdo it on basil, because basil can be really stupefying, which means makes you feel dozy. So you don't want to kind of like overdo it and then actually be asleep on your notes. That wouldn't be so good. So let's have a look at what basil is in terms of our emotional elements of things. So it's actually known as the oil of renewal. So a couple of books that I like to use, the Emotions and Essential Oil, and also a book called The Blossoming Heart. So this oil, as I mentioned, is really good for adrenal exhaustion. So it helps identify the main moods that are improved with basil. So fatigue, low energy, being overwhelmed, and inability to cope with the stresses that we have in life. The smell of this oil brings strength to the heart and relaxation to the mind. It's excellent for states of nervousness and anxiousness and despair. Basil oil supports those who are under a great deal of mental strain. So it helps to bring rejuvenation of vital forces after you've had like a period of burnout. It also helps strengthen the adrenals and restore the body to its natural rhythms of sleep, activity, and rest. Because when we find that we've kind of like burnt the candle at both ends, and then we don't have sleep on top of that, then it just acidates everything. It's great for recovery from negative habits. It gives hope and optimism to the tired soul. Basil may assist an individual in giving up false stimulants or helping with substance abuse. By increasing natural energy, it helps individuals achieve a greater balance and health. In short, basil is indicated for those who are weary in mind and body, and those who are in need of strength and renewal. So when we're working with negative emotions here, anxiousness, feeling overwhelmed, drained, exhausted, having those negative habits, great oil to use. If we're trying to invite in this feeling of being renewed and energized, rejuvenated, rested, strengthened, then this is a great oil for that too. Companion oils, so we're talking about oils that work well with it. Wild orange, peppermint, grapefruit, cumin, our digestive blends, and just red mandarin, and also our tension blend. You can smell from the bottle. I like to diffuse this one in my office, especially if I'm studying. And as we all know, the doTERRA oils, we don't need to use a lot of this oil when we're diffusing. And maybe you mix it up with something kind of light and uplifting too, like a citrus oil. You can also put 3 to 5 drops over the adrenal glands, that's the lower back, or on the bottom of the feet in the morning or before bed. And because I love this book so much as well, we're going to read from this one. So basil is an expressive oil and it helps with insecurity. Listen closely to the voice that speaks to you each day. Open up your heart and mind and hear what it has to say. The sharp, spicy fragrance of basil brings balance and clarity to the inner emotions as the need for control falls away. Let your heart speak. Take a risk and express yourself. Basil helps the throat and heart chakras to open with ease, allowing a movement away from fear and insecurity. So this can be a great oil along with peppermint if you're about to go and deliver a speech to somebody, or you take yourself out of your comfort zone and you have to use communication, because communication is key, but for most of us, that's where we struggle. Listen for the true note of your self-expression and journey to your creative heart. Find security in expressing yourself through creative arts, learn to speak out, and trust the guidance of your intuition. Bring your true and authentic essence forward. Let your inner voice be your guide and allow basil to set the tone of your internal dialogue. Basil is a wonderful reminder about the power of positive thinking, and will generate a greater sense of security as you affirm and express yourself positively. So some questions to have a think about when we're working with basil is, where do you find your security? And what do you need to give a voice to in your life? So when we're working through these things, it can be great to use that oil that's relevant to the particular chakra that we're working on, the particular emotions that we're working on. I wanted to add, going back to the therapeutic, it can also be good for nausea and cramping, PMS and menstrual issues. So you can put it on your lower abdomen and it can just help assist with the flow. And with this, it can be nice actually to blend it with geranium and cypress and clary sage to create a little blend for yourself there as you're going through that. It also can be good for muscle spasms and inflammation. And as I mentioned before, as it was an anti-venomous, we can also use it for kind of like spider bites, bug bites, snake bites, any of those kind of things. Obviously not if it's a really serious snake, you want to go and get some medical help. So I hope that gave you a little insight into basil today. I think I need to be diffusing it so I don't trip over my words, but I wanted to kind of get this out there for you guys. And during the next month, we're going to be uploading videos on all of our essential oils here at doTERRA because we love them so much and we love our community too. Have a good day, everybody.